of those things, moving together, all those things, they were just a commitment to see how it goes, right? And I think this is where many relationships can fall over. But when you birth in an empowered way, you're like, okay, we're bunker buddies.
Yeah.
And that's how I think of it. Like, he's just my bunker buddy. He's my guy. He just, that might change. We're about to hit 20 years being married, but we are, I think, as in love as we were when we first met. We're probably a bit more tired, definitely. Hello, Quanta folks, and welcome to you're just as surprised as me, a bonus episode of Faark the Shoulds podcast. We thought we closed out our 2025 year, but nope, we've got a special little Christmas bonus, and this one in Santa's hamper, or Santa's sack, shall I say, although that sounds a bit dirty, doesn't it? So let's go with Santa's hamper. Is a bonus conversation with Nathan Francis from the Breaking Free podcast. I had a chat with Nathan, a year ago, and we thought it was well due to have another conversation. So, Quanta folks, here is a little Christmas bonus for us all. Please enjoy the conversation, and we'll see you again next year for, my goodness, our 4th season of Faark the Shoulds and Alchemising Education.
Hello everyone, welcome to Breaking Free podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Francis. Today, very grateful to be joined by QuantiMama Jodi. Welcome back to the show, Jodi. 12 months ago, I had you on talking about all things home birthing, and I sat here and learnt quite a lot that day. Welcome back. How are you going, and what's news with you?
Thanks, Nathan. I'm excited to be back. And I was just saying, I can't believe it's been a year. And that conversation was hilarious because that was sort of meant to be talking about homeschooling as well. But we ended up just in the birth world, which was great fun. So
Yes.
I'm really well. We're still doing all the beautiful things at QuantiMama about supporting parents, whether they're looking to move to homeschooling or they've just got stressed kids, because those parents are horribly isolated. And now I'm running private birth classes in our beautiful birth sanctuary, which is where you find me today. And that's located on the Bellarine Peninsula. And I just love all those things that can be a gateway to empowering people, because we have been systematically stripped down of knowing our own power. So it's a remembering time now. We've moved into the time of remembering for people, and they will absorb it very quickly.
100%. And I know last year when we were talking about home birthing, which there'll be links to those podcasts in the show notes for those that want to learn more about home birthing. And I know that I sat here and got a lot out of that. So definitely a future version of me will probably go back and listen to that podcast when the time's right, Jodi. So anyway, today, what shall we talk about? We've been running things around for the last little bit. So I'm just going to be authentic here and be like, oh, I have no idea what we're going to talk about today.
Well, I love that. It's like a choose your own adventure. But we have had that conversation before, where there is always so much that aligns, but also so much unique proposition to where we both come from. And one of the things that I really love is how, you're really calling out essentially what I would call the real toxic masculinity, which is this again, stripping down of what it is to be truly masculine by way of various addictions. And I've become really preoccupied. In fact, I did a presentation at a festival the other week about the shuns in life, as I was calling them. And so the shuns are about addiction and permission and direction and taking, shallow action, and basically this comprehensive gaslighting that's been happening for our community, but particularly our brothers. And the reason why I just love, the message you're bringing to the world is, firstly, you embody that. And I think that's incredibly potent when someone is authentically walking in those shoes. But also I'm very blessed to have QuantiPapa McGill walk beside me in life, and he is what I would consider a really healthy masculine male. Like, he is incredibly in tune with his what we'd call the divine feminine side of him. He has a beautiful softness that he can access so well. He's in touch with his emotions, but he's also deeply masculine. Like, I literally just gave him a job today to go and sort out something on one of our cars, something to do with pistons and injectors, and it all sounded very masculine. I said, it needs a penis in the conversation, so can you go take it? So he's that guy. But I also have three sons, and one of them is emerging into like the proper adulthood next year when he turns 18. But watching with real interest about how he navigates all of those things that I think genuinely will trip up our young men. And one of the things that I feel really passionately about, the more and more I witness it in my own children, is that when they are, say, one step back from the perversive effects of our community and society. So that's things like we keep an eye on what tech exposure there is.
Mm.
We have them out of school. And so we tend to find that particularly wayward young men who are missing all those cues about what it is to be truly divinely masculine, and they're just kind of peer mentoring each other. It's just an absolute cluster in terms of what you get for these young men. They end up egging themselves and each other on into these increasingly dangerous risk-taking behavior and stuff that doesn't serve the divine. But in my kids, particularly my eldest, I'm seeing this beautiful divine masculinity that, every so often he'll just step in and go, "I've got this, mum." And I'm like, great, another capable penis in the household. I love that,
Love the way you put that.
Well, I think there's so much mudding of the gender waters these days,
That is
and
true.
I've pushed back against that. Like, literally, when we shop for shoes, I'm like, it's a shoe size and they're a color. A shoe doesn't have a gender. There's no penis, there's no vagina in there. Like, literally, you can just wear whatever shoe fits you. That's great, right? So we don't need to worry about that. But there are definitely differences within that expression of the divine masculine, divine feminine, and I just love hearing that from you because I think you language that really beautifully, and I see the pervasiveness of all these addictions and this way we need to sate ourselves, and we always have to have these bloody devices that are basically surveillance devices by agreement
Mm-hmm.
in our hands, constantly rescuing us from our boredom, our
Yeah.
stillness. But it's not that. It's not boredom and stillness. That's what we're told it is. But in fact, it's actually the quiet voice within that knows our truth, that is our true north compass and can steer us in ways that we are yet to realize. So
I love
that's
that
really,
last bit because a lot of the young people have these devices in their hands. For those that were listening on Spotify or Apple or wherever you get this from, Jody was holding an iPhone, a smartphone. So for those that weren't watching on YouTube, that's the thing though. Like our young people are holding these things in their hands every single day, aren't they?
they
And
really are.
a
And
lot of kids in school will say on board or what, but then they'll just get handed an iPad or handed this and handed that. Then they'll come home and they'll say to mum and dad on board. It's like when I was a kid, Jody, mum's like, go outside and play. Go,
yeah,
go jump on the trampoline. Like my brother and I would wrestle on the trampoline. I'd play cricket in the backyard, footy in the backyard. We'd ride our bikes till bloody sunset. Like just doing shit. Now
yeah.
they're inside, and when I've been down in Victoria a lot lately, I have been in Victoria probably more this year than I have in the last 2 years, and that's for a lot of reasons. But what I've noticed down there is the kids are all inside a lot. But then
Yes.
where I'm living now, I'll look out my window and there's always kids at the park behind us here. There's always kids riding their bikes and scooters and stuffing around, kids going fishing and that. It's like, well, where are we at here? Like these kids are probably still getting their screen time, but at least they're getting outside and getting in the dirt. The kids in Victoria are all inside. What's going on?
Well, I reckon I think what there has been is a very intense look. If we, it's kind of funny. You pick up one thread, but in fact, then you've got to step back and go, okay, what's the picture? And then step back and go, what's that picture? And I think that
Very true.
when we keep stepping back, and I'm always interested in this, I guess, from a anthropo- anthropological
It's a big word.
perspective. Yeah, well, that's why I stumbled over it. I was making a mess of it. Word salad. So the thing about that is, I think there is absolutely an intention to not necessarily break down, but dilute the family unit.
That's
And I
true.
know that we even have this thing where inclusion or inclusiveness has been wholly taken up by a subsection of the community where if you try and use it, it means one thing and nothing else. And I know that, there are family units that come into all different shapes and sizes. So, no issue with that, right? The family unit is about the bonds of affection that exist within it. It's
Mm.
about the micro community that sits inside that family unit and how they nourish and nurture each other, as well as nurturing self, right? So, when we then look at what's happening for our kids, we have the phone, which there's multiple things to it. Firstly, everything on the phone is gamified. So it constantly is peaking those addiction hormones and
Dopamine.
creating addicts from a young age.
Dopamine's the one
Right.
you're looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, all of it, but cortisol also
that's
gets
true.
brought into it too. People go on the wave of the hormone experience and then they get that addiction because, my God, it feels good by design. And as a consequence, we then think because we don't feel good in our stillness, that discomfort needs to be avoided at all costs. I mean, you
Yeah.
even look at how we've avoided comfort, even with, and I'm not even going to get into the fact of whether sticking a needle in your body full of, heavy metals is a great idea, particularly for a child. Suffice to
Hmm.
say, it's not.
No.
Anyway, my point is that any time a child's going to, say, the authority and getting direction, the person wearing the white coat, they then receive as a reward for being brave. And I'm using parentheses with all of those because, again, it's all part of the construct that is this absolute fakeness. It's in a house of cards. Is that you then give these kids a lollipop for being brave. Now,
That's true.
if you had gone full consent on that and said, "Listen, Johnny, this is a medicine (parentheses), and I'm going to stick it in a vial with a sharp needle that's going to go into your skin." Now, Johnny's probably going to say, hang on at that stage. We won't even get into the fact of have we discussed any side effects of what that particular intervention does. But more perverse than that, I'm not even going to get into what is in that injection, but perverse from that is the association that if I put up with something that is maybe or a no, and I go through with it against what my innate judgment and compass is saying, then I will get some poison on a stick that I'll get to enjoy that will then start that whole pleasure center experience for me. And so the addiction begins.
Yep.
And so you can see that in society for children, we start so early with this stuff, using food as a reward. But more than that, we use the white stuff as a reward, and sugar is the most down regulatory thing that we can get these days legally. And we just start this relationship. And generally, this is why I'm interested in the parents. It's because the parents have learnt that. So they just go, well, here we go. It worked for me. We do that for little Johnny as well. And so I think that phones have followed that same pattern. We've gamified them. We, don't even allow for any spaciousness of stillness. There is a whole argument about the fact that electromagnetic frequencies and radiation is harmful or certainly down regulatory to the health of our cells. And there's plenty of information out there. It's just if you want to find it, it's an uncomfortable truth. We think, oh, it's so hard to get up out of bed and switch off the Wi-Fi when you've finished scrolling of an evening. So you sleep when in fact that's meant to be the time of cell repair and, allowing the parasympathetic nervous system to settle right down into beautiful, luscious sleep, healing, restorative, nurturing, all the things. And we're bathing our kids in that.
Hmm.
Bathing them in it overnight. We're having them sit in schools. We're getting them to hold these devices that don't even have any kind of EMF protection on them. So literally our electric bodies are absorbing this EMF all the time, constantly down regulating. And then we wonder why we have an epidemic of disease and mental health. So it's a fascinating thing. And I have a very healthy confidence that we are right on the emerging crest of the wave where people will go, huh, what else are we doing that is not helping? Because kids are an amazing trigger to make us be better people.
That is true.
Mm. And we're all children, right? So there's an opportunity to be really kind to ourselves and say, once you recognize it, can you walk past it? Like, that's the ultimate question. What am I financing in my life? And so when we circle back, and I know I've taken you on a bit of a journey, but when we circle back to these young men and this false toxic masculinity, which is this idea that boys can't be men, that being a man is actually tantamount to being just constantly aggressive, which is not true. The men, when they're in their divine masculine, are the protector. They are the provider. They are the shelter that the divine feminine seeks. And young men can sit in that space whilst also nurturing their divine feminine, and they can, be in touch with their feelings, and they can cry when the shit's hitting the fan, because that's the natural way that we move emotion through the body rather than letting it get stuck like some dirty rubbish bin to morph into disease later on. You want to say something?
No, I'm good. I'm happy to sit here and just listen to you. It's all so true, and we've gone on a bit of a journey there, which is great, as we always do. But you know, that's what those that have no control, right? That's what they
Yeah.
want. They want a society full of weak men, because then the weak men are easier to rule, lie to, manipulate, and all the things
Mm.
that's happened here in the last however long. But they also want to remove the man to then feminize to masculinize the woman, to remove her so they can get
Mm.
to the children. That's what they really want, right? That's the end goal.
That's right. And in fact, that then falls neatly into the way birth has been hijacked away from not just women, but families.
Correct.
Like an empowered birth forges a family. I mean, you can be a family beforehand. And I do encourage, say, the pregnant couples that I work with to really adopt that A-team mentality, because it actually really puts you in great stead going into a birth, whether you're having a home birth, you're having a hospital birth, a birth center, or you're having a Caesar, right? All of those things, when you have a strong A team, then, and it's the triangle, right? It's not just mum and dad, but it's also baby too, who is a conscious soul that has its own thoughts and is preparing itself for the world outside too, right? So they're responsive to their environment, babies. They know that.
Mm.
But when we strip that experience away from people, then we have families that don't know their own strength of what happens when they combine their forces for good. And when we have an empowered birth, you get that front row seat. I mean, birth is kind of funny because when you're actually in there, and I would imagine there's quite a lot of women that would have difficulty really articulating how comprehensively, it's not overwhelming. Can we use the word whelming? Like it's just, you just go into the birth cave, and there's no rescue pay that can come get you out of there really, unless we're talking the mechanics of intervention or pharmacological intervention. But otherwise, you're just way down the birth cave, just doing your thing, and it is so comprehensive in terms of being the sensory experience of that. But so too do the men when they get to immerse themselves in that, but they get to express it in a really beautifully divine masculine way. And one of the ways that I think that a lot of men get a lot of empowerment with being in a birth space is they get to adopt one of the analogies we've used for a long time is the silverback gorilla, where they are absolutely focused on their woman and what she needs, but they are also monitoring the perimeter. They are also guardians of the space, and they are happy to beat their chest for any outside influence that's going to throw the whole thing off course. And within that, they know their role, and they are absolutely like, it's like inhaling into the full size of you, right? So you just breathe in until you really fill up your entire field with your wholeness. And then you have absolute trust in the other party as well. You have absolute trust in your woman to birth this baby and bring this baby earthside. You have trust in the baby to know intuitively what they need to do to work as a, helpful team member to bring themselves earthside. So all of those things just then unfold in beautiful harmony. But I can't even imagine how many men that would be the most foreign idea to them, that they haven't even had a glimpse of that in that experience. But one thing that McGill and I credit over and over again is that our first birth experience, and then obviously the subsequent ones, but our first birth, it absolutely forged us. Our decision to date, get engaged, not very long afterwards, like, a couple of months later, get married within sort of 18 months, and then all of those things, move in together, all those things, they were just a commitment to see how it goes, right? And I
Mm.
think this is where many relationships can fall over. But when you birth in an empowered way, you're like, okay, we're bunker buddies. And
Yeah.
that's how I think of it. Like,
Yeah.
he's just my bunker buddy. He's my guy. He just, that might change. We're about to hit 20 years being married, but we are, I think, as in love as we were when we first met. We're probably a bit more tired, definitely, and we're a bit more familiar with each other. But the love has this expanding richness to it where it's not even a familiarity. It's like, oh, I want to know what's going to happen for you next, and I want you to share what's going to happen for me next. And because we've seen each other at our rawest and we've held life in our hands, and it's no one will take that away from us. Like, it is very unlikely that we will ever meet another human who will cause a splinter in our relationship, because we have forged it so firmly through that birth experience and then the subsequent ones. And I just think we're on the precipice of people just knowing that. I think they already know it, but they're going to start knowing it more and saying, hey, I want that. Like, we'll
Mm.
do all the other things, but I want that. And I see that in my kids now. I'm like, I want that for you. And one of the conversations we have on a regular basis, because my kids are like, ugh, mom. And I'm like, no, you guys are so blessed. I had to learn this shit when I was 40. You're learning it when you're 12, 14,
Yeah.
17, right? You
Mm.
guys get to do life in a completely different way. You don't have to go through the sludge and the bullshit and the gaslighting. You get to have your own critical judgment. You get to know what is right for you, or you get to have that conversation with self over and over again. So you get to use the information around you. All of it is just intelligence is available to you. And then you get to decide how that relates to you and what action you take or what inaction you take. But you get to decide, and you don't have to go through the baptism of fire. You just
Mm.
get to have your own experience, but it doesn't have to be hardship.
I
Yeah.
love that. That was awesome. It's for someone that's still single, Jody. People know that, and it's I'm stepping into that space now, and it's very refreshing to see and to be surrounded by. Yeah, I'm just sitting here soaking it all in like a sponge because part of me is like, I want that. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna be honest with you. I
Well,
love
of
honesty.
course. Of course. I mean, we are all pure love
We
beings.
are.
And I did hear, and I don't recall who it was, it might have been Peter Crone, but someone had said, and I just love this analogy, that when a baby is born, and obviously there will always be exceptions to the rule, but generally speaking, when a baby is born, they don't know they're anything other than whole.
Yep.
They don't know that they're anything other than love. So we have all had that experience at some point. We just need to remember it. And, it's not a matter of deserving or anything like that. Again, the deserving is part of that shun frequency, the permission and the validation and the qualification.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't need to actually be worthy of that. You already are, because something whole isn't lacking. There's nothing missing. You already are whole. All you need is to stumble upon that other whole person that is going to just amplify your experiences. And they come in the most surprising ways. McGill and I, we were very blessed to meet over someone who decided to inhale silver spray paint on a Sunday afternoon. So it's a good story for the kids. But, I didn't go to work thinking I was going to meet um, my equal and, someone I would consider the love of my life on, from a mind, body, soul perspective. I was just doing my job. But, these things happen and then you meet them and you go, oh, it's you.
Yeah.
Okay, this is what we're doing now.
Mm.
So it's a beautiful thing. And I want that for my kids. I think that, even language like PDAs and stuff like that, this public display of affection and how we kind of go, ew, it's so gross.
No.
And I'm just like, why would you not want to be in this love bubble? Love bubble. It's beautiful, It's just there's a richness to life, and it doesn't mean everything is sugar coated and perfect all the time. We get to be human and have our cranky days and have days that feel like winter where you just want to hop in bed with double coat Tim Tams and a Netflix movie and just bunker down. But there are also days where the sun comes out and they are luxurious. So I want that. And I want our men to know that there is a place for them. And in fact, the women who sit in their divine feminine, even if they rock a bit of masculinity, and I'm a doer, so I think of myself as a little bit masculine with the way I think about things. I'm a little bit strategic and I can triage and, all that sort of side of the brain that is very calculating. But I also love having that protector provider around me that I can count on, that, I can hand over the stuff to do with cars and whatever else it might be. Go and get the firewood at 10 o'clock at night. So there is an absolute desire for women out there to have that, to have the men meet that. And what I'm curious about, because I am conscious of how much I am talking,
I like it though.
I would love to hear what your thoughts are about how our young men can access that. How do they, what are the fastest or first steps that they can take to move into that, beautiful masculine, healthy masculine expression?
Well, it's like, what layer of the onion would you like to peel back here? Because there's the mental, physical, emotional, spiritual layer to all of that, right? If you have all those four things working in unison, then you are stepping into that divine masculine. So I always say, start with the physical pillar of strength. If
Yeah.
you're looking yourself in the mirror the way I used to, and you're a skinny man or skinny boy, I was super skinny. It's like, can you do a chin up? Can you do a pull up? Can you pull yourself up? Can you do a push up? And I used to do all those things, Joe, and I get laughed at because I wasn't very good at it, you know.
Yeah.
But if you take that first step, well, your first step is just getting some strength physically.
Mm.
Move your body, go for a walk, start doing some bicep curls, but then keep doing the reps. You're not going to get big arms overnight, which was a humbling for me because I thought, oh, if I go to the gym for 12 months, I'll be looking like Arnie Schwarzenegger being this real big buff guy. Not going to happen because I'm doing it the natural way. I'm not cheating my way to a good body. I'm going to work with it
Mm.
over time. So, building that physical pillar of strength. And I encourage all the young boys and men out there to read that book, How to Eat, Move, Be Healthy by Paul Chek, because
Mm-hmm.
he literally puts it in a beautiful way of diet, of moving in a holistic way so you're not going to fuck up your body going to the
Mm.
gym in future. You know what I mean? So you got to get yourself ready to actually go to the gym, and his movements and the fundamental stuff is paramount to any young man. And a lot of the young people I'm seeing in the holistic space are doing these movements, but for everyday Joe out there, they're just going into the gym and smashing themselves. It's if
Mm.
we can build that physical pillar of strength, that's a good start. But we've got to work on the emotions too. We keep all this thing stuck inside, as you know, and I was one of those guys too. And as soon as I was able to open up Pandora's box and let that out, everything changed. And we have to step into a space where we can feel safe enough to be able to feel those feelings. And I'm very big on that. in the last 12 months, there's a video of me somewhere crying online. We have to be able to feel those emotions, Jody, because as
Yes.
men, we're supposed to feel. Yes, we're leaders and protectors and all the things, but we also have feelings as well. And I think a great leader and a great protector is someone that's able to feel those feelings and let them out in a
Mm,
healthy way. You know
mm.
what I mean?
Absolutely. I mean, we've been, and look,
Then
again,
there's
if
the
you want to
porn layer.
go on.
I mean, there's a porn layer to this too. A lot of our young men are watching
Yes.
porn. So their views of sex, their views of relationships, their views of how women can be treated is all based upon this is I'm just talking in third person as I was that guy, right? I was that guy
Yeah.
10 years ago that thought that this
Yeah.
is the way things are. This is the way sex is. This is the way a guy should last. He should only last 30 seconds. He should have a big dick down there because fucking old mate on the internet does. You know what I mean? Like we compare
Yeah.
ourselves to that. It's like, well, it's all you're giving all that external power away and
Hmm.
comparison to something else when you've already got it all within, and you'd be comfortable with that body and with that doodle size and all the things, right? That
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like I was
Yeah.
comparing myself to the guys on the internet with the big dicks. I'm like, fuck, mine's not that big, but you know what I mean? Like, and then my view of sex, like my first few sexual experiences were based upon porn. Like, I
Yeah.
ran that porn program for like 8 years.
Mm.
I just thought that's what sex was.
But
Then,
well,
then I
it.
started a podcast and interviewed
Mm,
sex coaches and people that do semen retention, and
mm.
I'm like, oh my god, this is like not how I was doing it.
Well, that's right. I mean, I think I've definitely gone through that evolution of what does it mean to have, a sexual relationship with someone. And I've come to the very neat conclusion that it is essentially when we tap into the universal field and that
100%.
veil drops,
Yeah.
that moment of climax is just essentially being, as Stuart Wilde would say, with the God force, like it just
Yep.
is. And so it's a gift to this material experience so that we know that it exists beyond that veil all the time. It's just we don't generally tap into it. We get caught up in the material. We get caught up in the idea that time is true and has to be adhered to. Time doesn't. It's a concept. And I mean, anyone sort of living with any kind of presence knows that time is just
An illusion.
it it's just gone. I mean,
Right.
time's just going so fast. I put my head down, put my head back up, and it's a week later, and I'm like, what happened?
Yeah.
So I'm now surrendering to that. I trust that everything must unfold exactly as it's meant to, in
Love that.
exactly the right way it needs to, in exactly the right timing that it needs to, right? It lands and expresses itself when it needs to. But that connection with the universal field, and when you have those true moments of climax where you are completely surrendered, but also so connected from a heart field to the person you're actually engaged with, that's when you get that. I think that must be like that newborn feeling that Peter Crone was talking about being whole and being pure love and just knowing that there is, like, that's it. Like,
Hmm.
that's the whole thing. And we're just here for the kind of more material, time observing experience in these skin sacs, but the energy field just it reintegrates in that moment. And so when you look at
Yes.
what porn does, it again is breaking down this idea of what is divine masculinity, because men need to control and there needs to be an element of fear for the other party, and there needs to be an element of maybe murky waters in consent, and there needs to be, I guess, all these very low vibration feelings and frequencies to do with that engagement. It can't be where both parties end up realizing that they are the universal field of love.
100%.
Yeah.
And the
So
next
we,
layer, yeah, the next layer to that onion is, I spoke about it in the chat I did with you guys probably around this time last year too, where I said, well, I based my whole life upon three characters on a screen. And then I based
yeah.
my whole sexual, which was Stifler, Joey, and Charlie Sheen. And then
Mm,
then I based it on, well, my sex life was based upon the porn stars I was watching on every morning and every single night. It's like,
mm,
well, you know, I find that when we were talking about initiation, the
Mm.
modern man has to read that book, The Way of the Spiritual Man by David Dieter. Is that the book? The Way of the What's that, David?
Yeah.
Yeah,
David Data's got a few books.
yeah,
His
that
books
one,
are
The Way
great.
of the Modern Man or Way of the Spiritual Man, is a
Mm.
must read for all young men too. So there's the two books. Paul Chek's How to Eat, Move, Be Healthy. David Dieter's book, The Way of the either Modern Man or Spiritual Man.
Hmm.
When I heard that audio book about 3 months ago, it completely changed frequency in me
Yeah.
that I can't really put my finger on just yet. But
Mm.
back onto the what we were talking about before with characters on a screen, there are no male masculine role models on the screen that our young people can cling onto.
Well, that's by
And
design, right?
yeah, correct. And then our family units is the same,
Hmm.
unless we're growing up in a consciously loving household. And unfortunately, not a lot of our young men are growing up in a conscious, loving household that has a masculine role model in their lives. And that's where we're lacking. But we're seeing a lot more people bob up online, though. But you have to
I,
go and find them.
I think they exist, and this
They
is what I'm
do.
saying: is we are on this massive crest of the wave of change because people like yourself and there's a few others out there, and I think that they tend to hang out in the more aware spaces. But I mean, even if you take like your uber successful Joe Rogans and guys like that, I think of them as probably far more healthy masculinity than what we're used to, and so that you don't need that model to you because
You are it.
underneath, yeah, underneath the what's the word for it? It's like a spell. Underneath the spell is that whole and pure love being.
Yeah. Underneath all the conditioning and the it's just shit. Yeah.
Correct. But all of it is, see, this is, I think, where we again get into the shuns of the permission, is we actually give permission to wear that spell cloak as
That is
well.
so true.
So this is where radical self-responsibility kicks in. And I just love this because it it is the litmus test of what am I playing out? Is this my true self, my energy body that understands it's part of the universal soup, or is this the program overlay that keeps society functioning and rolling along and compliant and all those things? And when I apply radical self responsibility, I go, oh, okay, I can
Mm.
see how I actually enabled that and I took that on. I use it as an excuse. And again, generally speaking, when you adopt that stuff, you'll probably find that it is hitting those addiction centers, those addiction hormones again, because it feels nice to be the victim. You get to anchor to a story. It feels nice to be the villain and, be able to cause some harm and feel powerful. And it also feels nice to be the hero and save the day, but it's all bullshit.
Hmm.
All of it's bullshit. Like you must come back to the true whole self, and you must also offer that to those around you, those that are closest to you, and see them as whole. And sometimes that expression is a little bit crap, but they get to be crap in that moment. You don't need to actually bring yourself down to that level and be an enabler. You get to actually love them in the way that you know how, that is their whole self, and then you get to be the example. And I think that's why we're seeing so many what I would consider young men, because I'm almost 50 next year, but I see young men who haven't had that modeled in their upbringing, but they are showing up in that way. So they have remembered that. They have reintegrated that belief system, and they know they can't unknow. And so they just speak with that beautiful resonance. And that will just keep snowballing.
Mm.
It's They say it takes the second person. The first one's the brave one that stands up with the radical idea. The second one who joins them is the clincher. And then once you have a second, generally you'll have a third join you fairly quickly. And then before you know it, there's a whole group of you that are embodying that reimagining and that beautiful probably foreign idea to people. But as they have that experience and they can't unknow it, you'll find most people will fall into that. So I feel deeply confident that we're emerging into this space, but it doesn't stop my, little sort of slave body wanting to shake the parents and go, wake up, don't give your birth experiences away. Stop putting your kids in schools when they're clearly stressed and anxious and you're having an awful experience, both of you. Like, stop
Yeah.
doing all of that. Why are you creating so much hardship for yourself? There's no ribbon, there's no gold star at the end of this shit show that you're creating for yourself. Pull back.
Mm.
Create some spaciousness. Be kind to yourself, be kind to your kids. Start advocating for a better experience, because ultimately that's what we're here for. We're here to work that out. We're not here to suffer. We're here to realize that the suffering is not necessary. It's like the simplest equation when you realize, and all that glitters is not gold, but it's there to tempt you in some way. And I'm not trying to sound evangelical. It's just a choice every single moment.
Mm.
And of an evening, I still love a wine. I know it's probably a little bit unhelpful for me or a bit down regulatory for me, but I just
Just a little bit.
love the taste of that first glass. So, we all have our poison that we want to experience in our skin sac. But one thing I know to be so is that if it came down to, an ultimate choice in health, I would always choose the energetic field, because I know that I'm an energetic field of love and I'm just inhabiting the skin sac for the experience right now. But at some point, I'll drop the body and I'll reabsorb beautifully into the field, and the collective wisdom will be reabsorbed and disseminated as it's meant to in the next lot of people occupying the skin sac. So I feel deeply confident, but I think that we need your voice. We need the men out there who are showing up in this space, because my sons will look for that example beyond their family unit. They need more voices to confirm what they know to be so. And so that's where you get that, the second and the third person joining that radical idea, so that then we have a group of people. And that's what the young people are looking for now. They're
They
so
are.
drawn to it for a reason.
100%. And it's just showing the way. And as you said, you can listen to all the podcasts and read the books and do all the things. You need to embody what that is, and only you know what that is. When I went through my phase of who the fuck am I and what the fuck am I doing here, I was reading all the books, listening to the podcasts too, of thinking that this is how I should be. Then I lost touch with who I actually was, and some parts of who I actually was a masculine trait. I'm like, oh fuck, okay, right. Well, I can still be that in a more, you sort of have that inner dialogue going on, but we do often hand parts of ourselves away, and then you can get so caught up in all the noise of the way you should be, when you just need to be yourself. And for the last probably 2 years, maybe more so the last 6, 12 months, I'm like, hang on a minute, I just need to be me.
Mm.
Like, drop the facade, drop the bullshit, and just be me. I like to have a laugh. I like to have a bit of a joke, and I can still be that guy, but in more mature. Don't have to be so serious all the time.
Absolutely. Amen to that.
Yeah.
I'll be in trouble if they ever ban, slightly inappropriate humor, because,
Well,
that's,
exactly.
I love that
I mean,
stuff.
I was talking about big dicks and shit earlier. Like, I never would have said that to you last year.
You can totally say that. They're just words anyway. And in
Exactly.
fact, any reaction I have is mine. You can't this one of the greatest gaslighting is this idea that you can make people feel something. You can't. Everything's
Yes.
by invitation. When we're radically responsible, any reaction I have is mine to have. Then I get to decide whether I want to give it oxygen, as in, is it just something that's passing through me, that's coming out for, essentially alchemizing and purifying, or is it something that troubles me, and then I got to look at my own triggers, and if I want to get that introspective. I mean, I think we spend way too much time doing this work, again, parentheses, this work of the inner work. And I'm like, just
Live.
stop. Stop, exactly. Just breathe in and out. Like, all the things you need to be alive and inhabit this skin sac are essentially free. You can go feed yourself for free. You do need to probably skill up in a few things and maybe sharpen a couple of sticks, so you can, get the things that you need out of the ground, or that are running on the ground or in the water. But you can do that. You can breathe the oxygen. You can use the sunlight as your greatest medicine, all those things are available to you. But this idea that you're here for the toil of the inner work, oh my God, kill me now. Like literally just go back to just narcotizing yourself,
No.
because the inner work is just more of that permission-based overlay. You don't need permission.
Oh,
You just
100%.
afford it to yourself. It's that simple.
Yeah. Well, where are we conditioned and trained to ask for permission? I think I went on a bit of a rant last year in your podcast telling you that you got to
Yeah.
raise your hand and ask to go to the toilet and do all that shit in school.
Yeah.
So then we're actually doing that to ourselves. We're asking ourselves for permission to be ourselves when we can already be ourselves.
Correct.
That's the
That's right.
conditioning. It's come straight from Mrs. Crabtree down at the local school.
That's a perfect name for that kind of teacher. I'm sorry to the real Mrs. Crabtree, but if you are embodying that person, lift your game.
Oh,
Um, yeah, absolutely. And in fact, so one of the things that I really love doing, and I literally was teaching this on the weekend at this workshop, is whole body muscle testing or sway muscle testing. And I've just created a resource so I can actually send that to people if they're interested. There's a bunch of videos out there on how to do it, but what I love about whole body muscle testing is it's basically you use your body and you tip either forwards or backwards for a yes or a no, and you check into it. You know about this?
yeah, kinesiologists use it, and it's in that book, How to Eat, Move, Be Healthy. Paul
Okay,
Chek does
cool.
his own one for like diet and movement and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
This is
you can
why
use
I'm
it for
encouraging young
anything.
men to read these, people anywhere to read that book, because
Okay,
all this
yeah. So
stuff's
you
in there.
found that book really transformative. So
Yeah.
I think anything you can use that is like a gateway to getting to this awareness is so powerful. So the reason why I then tell people about whole body muscle testing, and again, you can just teach yourself,
Yep.
but we use it in our household and I use it with my kids. So it is now the way that I get my kids to make a decision. When they say, "What do you think, Mum?" I go, "Have you muscle tested it?" And they go, "No." And I went, "Well, we can discuss it, but ultimately you need to make the decision based on muscle testing, because what happens is your billion trillion cells that you have living as a beautiful community in this gorgeous skin sac that you're inhabiting, they're essentially electric. When you boil right down to it, we are electric beings. So this subatomic level of being electric. And when you assemble this beautiful community that is already working cohesively for you, and you ask it, is it for my highest good to do this? And you ask a yes or no question, you get an answer. Now, I find that to be far more compelling than thinking about it, because the thinking often is where all that shun programming is sitting. All the need for permission,
Yep.
validation, qualification,
Yep.
verification, action, all of those things sit in that space of the mind. And we have been convinced that this is where we need it. This is why schools flourish, right? You need to fill their mind, you need to fill their brains with useless bloody information they're never going to recall ever
That's
again and
true.
won't be relevant, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, completely side comment on
Don't
schools,
mind a
but
good side comment or a side rant. All welcome
well,
here.
I'm doing that in real time, and I say to people, listen, if my theory doesn't work, then I'll let you know when my kids are in jail. If it hasn't worked, then I'm trialing it with my kids, but it's by their consent too.
Yes.
So part of this implicit agreement I have with my kids is, do you want to do this? What does your body tell you? And so you have ways to access this information, to access your inner compass. And
Yeah.
it doesn't require years of training. You literally can Google it on YouTube or something like that, and find out how to access these things. You can read the book that you're suggesting to people, and that will be the way the penny drops. The point is, the information is out in the field and it is available to you. So if you are ready, go find it and then put it into practice. Give yourself the experience, create the trust, and then you don't know where your decision making is going to take you, but it will generally be to a better place,
It's the
far
feeling.
less suffering.
It's the feeling. It's
Yeah.
feel into it. A lot of the advice I'll give too is, well, I was Victorian, you're Victorian, familiar with the AFL. I had a lot of junior coaches say, give your first option, it's always the right one. Well, I just have used that saying from my awesome first footy coach and used that with life.
Yeah.
Give your first option, do the first option, do that thing. because it's always the
That's
right
how I did
one.
university. I mean, all of my essays were basically the first option.
Yeah. But you can do that with life. You know, a
You
lot of
can.
people will go in the supermarket, Jody, right? And
Mm,
supermarket, fuck. Well, that's where
yeah.
people go, I guess. I don't really, I go in if I have to. You know, they'll go in the supermarket and they'll go, I shouldn't have gone there today.
Mm,
It's like, yeah, well, you had a feeling like you shouldn't have been there. You know, someone might have been rude to them. Someone might have said F off or might have been a bomb or something in there. Who freaking knows,
mm-hmm,
right? But it's like
mm,
they knew something that they shouldn't have been
mm,
there. And then they'll come home
mm.
and they'll say, you know what, Nathan, I shouldn't have gone to the supermarket today because X, Y, Z happened. I'm like, well, why don't you listen to your feeling and not go?
That's right. And that feeling shows up in the skin sac too, because you'll get a feeling of whether you want to close down, whether you want to withdraw, whether you have a tightness in your stomach. And so that sort of gut center showing you that it's not right. And that's where the body will absolutely be your barometer to what is right for you. And, I completely agree. And in fact, then I do think that, again, if we're going to say radical responsibility in this, if you still choose to go to the supermarket despite the fact
Mm,
that you are getting all this sensory information saying choose another option, and you still choose to go in, then on a higher level or a greater level than that, excuse me, there's something that you want to experience in that supermarket
that's true.
scenario.
That's true.
So again, I absolutely trust that even when we have what I would consider to be an experience of contrast, you know that you weren't meant to do it. And this is obviously why we called our podcast Faark the Shoulds, because
Love
the
it.
shoulds are usually where it's at, right? So when you do a should, that's you doing something that is against what you know to be so, right? It's your compass going, no, I was pointing that way and we're going that way now. So, that I tried to explain that to you. Okay, so on some level, I wanted to experience the contrast. And the contrast, I think, often can be almost more compelling in its lesson for how you get back on your pathway, how you reveal your true self, how you accept yourself as a whole being of love.
Mm.
Because you've gone, oh, okay, I actually don't want that experience at all. And it almost creates a greater level of what's the word for it, like you absolutely you knuckle down and you commit to being that whole version of yourself, because now you've had the experience of the contrast amped up to the power of 1,000.
Yep.
So everything has its place. It's all perfect.
Yep.
And we're here for a period of time, whatever that means. And
Mm.
one thing I feel very strongly about, and I said this to my kids, is you can choose to go against stuff, what you know to be so. You can choose to do the shoulds, but tomorrow might be your last day. So, like, does that
Yeah.
bother you if you actually made choices that didn't feel in alignment? If
Well
you went
said.
against your own innate knowing? If it doesn't bother you, then okay, cool. I mean, you get to use your skin sac however you want to. But if you are aware that tomorrow is going to be your last day uh, on Earth, like maybe you want to do something that feels really in alignment. So
Yeah.
as you drop the body, you get to know, ah, shit, I really nailed it at the end. You get to drop the body knowing I got no regrets. I
That's
got
exactly right. And I'll raise you one there too, you know. We get so caught up in all the of all the shiny things, all the material things. Well, when you leave this place, you don't take any of that shit with you, so why are you worrying about it?
correct.
Like I had a
That's exactly
beautiful
right.
person on the podcast a few months ago. Like put it so like we even worry about world things and all these things when we leave here, none of that comes with us. And the only thing
Hmm.
that comes with us is our soul and we look back on the life or whatever and we're sitting there, it's like, well, how did we make an impact? Did
Yeah.
we come and achieve what we all came here to achieve? I've watched some family members and that go to that part of their lives in that space, and some people are full of regret.
Yeah.
Like I've taken it upon myself to not be in that position when I'm in that position, to not be in regret, to be like
I think it's
looking
beautiful insight.
looking those people in the eye, and if they're great grandkids, whoever they are, it's like, well, I did this and did that, sweet, but I'll guide you on to the next life. Now I'm fucking out of here.
Yeah,
Fucking
yeah,
did what I
that's
wanted to
right.
do, and I'm out. Gone. See you later. It's like we can all make an impact from right now. You know,
Yes.
we get so worried about, oh, what's Tom, Dick, and Harry going to think? Well, fuck Tom,
Mm.
Dick, and Harry. It's like,
Yeah.
look at the person in the mirror. It's what do you think? And
Yeah.
then the right people will come and gravitate to you. And that's one of the biggest things in my last 5 years too. Is there's choices that I made. I didn't take that juice, and lost people in my life. Well, great, new people have come in. I've birthed a podcast. I get to talk to people like you. New people
Yeah.
come in. We just cling on to the material and the people and the old version of ourselves that people saw us as. Well, who gives a fuck about what the people think? Yeah, it's like we cling on to all this stuff when if we just let that rope or that whatever that is, that call it a rope. If we let that rope go
Yeah.
and just be,
Yeah. That's
everything
right.
changes.
Well,
But we build up
according to,
all this stuff. We build up the material stuff. We build up worry. We build up stress. We build up
mm,
all these things, and then we just sit still and just wait to be killed off. I
yeah.
know it's brutal, but that's what people. We're sitting ducks. It's
Yeah.
like let the rope go and just be you.
Yeah.
Do that thing.
Absolutely. Well, the thing is that all of that worry and concern, that's all part of the drama cycle, and that's all part of that slave program overlay that is keeping us small. Because
Yeah,
you don't have that if you're whole. And in fact, you don't even have the need to go, well, fuck Tom, Dick, and Harry, because in fact, you just love them knowing they are in their full expression of themselves right now. They're full
acceptance.
Yep.
Mm.
They're it's not even I don't know about acceptance because I consider myself quite a judgy bitch and I'm okay
Ooh.
with that. Like I like being a little bit judgment. No, I'm quite judgmental. I just don't say a lot of it out loud, but I think it and it helps me because I think well, that's my line. I actually want clear knowings of I'm not going to be that person. I'm not going to do that version of being a human being and operate in my community in that kind of way. I don't want to be that sort of person. I actually want to care more deeply, and so I do find it beautiful. In fact, what I'd call that is a an experience of contrast by proxy. So
Mm.
someone else is having the experience, and you go, "Oh shit, I don't want that." And my body tells me straight away, like I feel it in the body, and I'm like, that's a hard no, I'm not doing that. And so then I go, okay, well, how am I doing that in my life? And what do I want to let go? Because I have noticed that behavior, or I've noticed that interaction for some reason. There's something in that I'm doing. And am I ready to actually let go of that in my life or find a way to do it differently? And I don't always spend a lot of time being that introspective, but I think there is an opportunity when you are aware that you don't want to participate in this adrenaline fueled life where you're either passionately with someone or passionately against someone or passionately worried or passionately, fiery about something. Like all of that is just expending your energy. It's not keeping it in here to keep you healthy and whole. So
Mm.
it's this kind of using you as a battery basically
Yeah.
to power society. And all of it's bullshit because as you say, when you die, none of that will matter.
No.
You won't even give it a second thought. The only thing you might think is, oh fuck, I can't believe I wasted time on that.
Well,
But
that's exactly what people have said
yeah,
that have had the near death experience. Will come out and
yes,
say, I can't believe I wasted time on that,
yep,
whatever that situation is.
yeah, yeah. The key is when you're aware of that, and I think that Miguel and I, excuse me, particularly live our life that way. I think because we spent so many years in emergency services, we saw so much death. So
Mm.
it became quite apparent that it's a fait accompli. Like, we're definitely going to die, all of us. We just don't know when. And I think that what I have now morphed into, and I've used this with my kids, which has challenged them, no doubt, because they don't hear any other parents or adults or well, not teachers anymore because they're homeschooled, but any
Influences.
other people of authority saying
Mm.
this to them. But I say to them, there's no such thing as dying prematurely. You can't lose someone, they just die. They have completed their life. Now, some people complete their life as they're being born. And,
Soul journey. Yep.
they were jobs that I went to where babies died as they birthed. And then some people reach 95 and they drop the body. And some people hit a tree at 24 and drop the body. They haven't died prematurely. They literally have just dropped the body. That's all that's happened. And when you die, you die. So the question is not when or being worried about dying. It's what do you want to do now with that wisdom? Now that you know you're definitely going to die at some point, how do you want to do this life? And this is something that particularly I think my daughter is triggered by because she has come into this life, from what I can observe, called in two parents who talk very kind of pragmatically but energetically and next level sort of stuff. They're not facilitating an environment where she can wallow in her bullshit, but
I
she
love
really
that.
loves it. But she loves it. So this, and I'm like, hang on, how come I've got a daughter who loves this? She loves some drama and she loves a little bit of the victim stuff, and I'm like,
What a
huh.
beautiful gift you have.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's so again, this gift that I'm here to represent for her is by invitation. Whether she chooses or not is something entirely to do with her. I am not conceited enough to think that I can convince her one way or the other. All
Mm,
I can do is show her and speak to her as honestly and authentically and live my life in that manner and treat her in the same way. And if she takes it up, great. And if she doesn't, then there must be some kind of contrast lesson that she is wanting for herself. And I just have to trust that. I
yeah,
just have to trust it. And so that's where I think that parents particularly must divorce themselves from their children's achievements, both their children's achievements and their children's missteps. Because unless you put the gun in their hand, they're the ones who choose to hold it. They're the ones that choose to pull the trigger. And, you know, when you are providing an environment that is, for the most part, safe and healthy and conscious and loving, then you have to discharge them to their experiences. They are here for their life, not yours,
that's
and not
true.
what you think their life could be.
You're
Like
just a
you just
guide.
get to let them go. But same what I would say for us, Nathan, is as we become aware of this, we can afford that to our previous generations too. And we love them as their whole self expression. Even if we felt like they probably dropped the ball a little bit, they still did the best version they knew, even if their version was to serve as a contrast experience as well. And when you start discharging people in that way, then life gets so much nicer.
I agree.
So
100%
much
agree with
nicer.
everything you just said in the last 5 minutes. It's so, so true. And a good question to ask yourself is if you're listening to this right now, watching this right now, wherever in the world you are, it's what would love do?
Mm, beautiful question.
Mm. That's something I've pondered a lot in the last little bit. It's like before I do something, before I say something, it's what would love
Mm,
do?
mm. And you
Mm.
could even stretch that if you wanted to and say, I am love.
Oh,
What do I do?
well, that's true. Yeah.
Mm.
There you go.
Then
I
you get
just
to be the
loved,
embodied version.
I just loved all that you said before too. That's a beautiful, yeah. And that's the place of acceptance though. Like I know it's
Mm,
like a layer, but like for me is like accepting people where they're at. And my brother and I were literally out on a walk only a couple of hours ago talking about that. It's like, well, it's a soul journey. You can't if something's meant to happen to someone,
mm,
whatever that is, you can use your imagination.
mm,
That's the soul's journey. You can't interfere with that. Yeah, you can protect and do all the things, but if something's supposed to happen in their life that maybe they might have signed up for soul contract written in the stars type setup, then
mm.
they have to go through that experience on whatever that is. That could be anything.
Yeah.
It's the soul's choice, and as what you said, you have to divorce from that. And
Yeah.
I'm not a parent yet, but I see a lot of things out there in society, and I'm like, well, we wrap our children up in bubble wrap and all these things, but if a child's supposed to fall, they're supposed to fall. And then we put in all
Absolutely.
these preventative measures and all these things. It's like, great, but if that child is supposed to fall, they'll find a way to fall because it's the soul's journey to fall.
That's right. And parenting becomes much easier when you do surrender into that place.
Yeah.
Because, in fact, what you're really trying to control is discomfort for yourself. I
Correct.
mean, most people would say, I'm trying to make sure my kid doesn't hurt themselves. I'm like, yeah, except you don't feel what they feel. So, what you're trying to save yourself from is experiencing their discomfort. So, your
Correct.
discomfort with their discomfort and all the layers of shame and responsibility and all the other shit that we put on ourselves as parents. You are responsible for providing a safe, loving environment for your child. But the question is, how does that safe look? What does that safe look like for your child? And for children that are here to actually really take their skin sack out for a test drive, it won't be bubble wrapping them,
I love
and
kids like
yeah, well,
that.
that's my youngest, and he climbs trees, and I literally just have to advocate to him to be present with what he's doing. And I say, come down the slow way when he's, 40 foot up in the air in a tree. But am I going to stop him from climbing trees? God, no, because the next thing he'll do is find some other risk taking behavior which won't be as calculated.
Exactly. That's the
Mm.
thing, isn't it? We stop
Yeah,
them doing one thing, they'll do the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and before you know it, who knows where they'll be?
yeah.
100%.
And so I just think if
100%.
in that moment,
But that's
what
not
he's
just parenting,
doing.
that's school system too, though.
It is. Well, it's all related, right? And
Yeah.
and so the thing is that when and this is circles back nicely to what your first footy coach said, is the first thought is the right one, is that child's instinct is to go climb a tree. Now, if
Correct.
you want to actually like dissect that,
Mm.
that is firstly in accordance with their natural expression. So they're actually choosing it themselves. Someone hasn't put the idea in their head. They haven't gone, why don't you go climb a tree? They've gone, no, I want to climb that tree. They've already made an assessment. So if kids are incredibly attuned to what is actually best for them when they haven't been medicated and narcotized to the
That's
world. And
true.
that's what medication is doing. Again, it's by
Yes.
intention and by design. We label children and then we medicate them and we start dimming their own inner compass and
By
inner vision.
putting them in a box.
Well, the box is convenient for us, but more than that, which I think is the greatest atrocity, is that they lose their inner compass. So they lose their ability to know their yeses and their nos. And
Correct.
again, the biofeedback of the body, it will always tell them you will feel expansive when it's a yes. You will feel in that love state, and you will feel everything else when it's
Mm.
anything less than a yes is a no, right? So when you're
So
in that.
so for your son, what do you do in that moment? Because clearly he wants to climb that tree. You'll let him climb the tree.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
I say, be present.
Yep.
So stay with what you're doing, and because then he focuses what he needs to do. Because I don't think he's going to climb the tree with the express intent to harm himself.
No,
I
no,
just don't believe that, right?
neither.
But also the other thing that's really cool is that he then is hugging this tree, and so from an energetic perspective or a frequency perspective, he is hooking into the earth and Mother Nature frequencies, which are incredibly co regulating for children. Like
Mm.
the most important thing that we can do for kids, quite apart from obviously helping them stay away from the addiction of tech and the safety of tech, shall we say, the
Mm-hmm.
sanitizing of life with tech.
Sanitizing.
It does. It really
Yeah.
sanitizes us, and we're on this intentional slope where your metaverse is trying to help people live in a digital world where they just are an avatar. So they've missed it. Like your skin sac is already your avatar. It is your avatar of the material world because you are not the body, you are the energetic field, which is hooked into the universal soup and is a pure love being. And
Mm.
you already have an avatar. So why the fuck would you go and get a digital avatar in some constructed world? I mean, it's just nuts.
Wait till December comes around.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Yeah,
All that is all promised is not always so.
that is true. But they are
And there is
saying in
always a way.
December you need to have your little ID to make sure you're on social media still. I'll be saying bye bye.
Yes, and I'm clear about that too. And I think that that's one thing that as parents, if you are looking to start anywhere, start quietening yourself so you can work out what your foundations are. And my foundations are very much, I'm not into convenience if it means something deleterious in the long game. I won't acquiesce to stuff in that way. So it's a no, and so I pivot. But I absolutely trust if you can make something, you can undo something, and there is a market for everything, is my belief. So if there's a market for everything, there will be a way around, and the creative mind is a beautiful thing.
That
when
is
it's in
true.
full flourish.
And when hugging trees is a good place to start. So I love that your son's climbing trees and hugging them and getting all those beautiful frequencies in.
He's doing what he needs to do. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. Well, Jodi, to wrap all this up, it's been an awesome chat as per. We need to do this more often, so maybe we could do this every couple of months, maybe instead of every 12 months.
I would love that.
To sum this up, for someone that's out there listening and watching, what would be your advice to go and grab life by the balls and fuck the shoulds, as the way you would say it?
Yes. Well, I do love farking the shoulds. There's a couple of options that I would give people by invitation. Option one is notice what you say. So if you say should, then that's a red flag or an amber flag to you. You could just notice that and just see if that's true for you. Another option by invitation is I've got a kid coming in too, so we'll wrap this up shortly.
Yeah, right.
It's okay, darling. I've told them you're here. So the other thing that you might want to do by invitation is you might like to just go outside for 5 minutes and stand barefoot on the earth and just see if anything changes. And then the final thing that I would like to offer by invitation, and you don't need to do this, do all of them, you can just choose one, is put your phone away, like put it out of the room and make sure your kids are off devices and give yourself 5 minutes with them and just see what happens and if that balloons into more time. And I think with any of those tiny little, they're not even changes, they're additions to our day. Exactly like you found with starting to do all that training in a very present and intentional way, is it naturally leads you into other places. And so it's a beautiful thing. You just need to change one thing or just add one thing for the better. And all of those things will help you start coming into recognizing your truth and just adjusting your life for the better and those around you.
Love that, Jodi. Where can people find you?
They can find us at QuantiMama, so that's QuantiMama, which is very nicely means many mothers. It's also about the quantum field. If you like these conversations, and you'll find one with Nathan as well, we have Faark the Shoulds podcast, which is FAARK, to keep me from getting banned on all the platforms. Again, just finding another way around it. But I just love these conversations. I'm so grateful for your generosity of letting me just go on my rants.
No, I love it. I went on a rant on your platform, so it's only fair that you do a rant on mine. Even though this is a cross collaboration, your listeners will listen to this anyway, so I'll send you the audio and video. Anyway, Jodi, thank you so much for what you've shared today. I love the rants and stuff. We need to do this more often, I think. We need to make this a regular
Absolutely.
thing.
Let's do it. Thanks, Nathan.
Righto, for those listening and watching wherever in the world you are, take care, and we'll see you all again soon.
Hey, Quanta folks, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Birth is transformational. And it can be transformational in the right way and in the not so right way. So how do we arm ourselves to be really prepared for this incredible experience? Well, you wouldn't go out and run a marathon without any kind of training. You'd at least do occasional stretches. And the High Vibe Birth course, which is self-paced, available at the QuantiMama.com website, is available for you. You get to luxuriate in all of the ideas and transformational techniques and the beautiful information that can only have a positive effect on your birth. So get fit for your birth marathon and head to QuantiMama for the High Vibe Birth course. Beautiful Quanta folks. You know, at QuantiMama, we have a mandate that we feel so passionate about. We want and we are raising the community's vibration and frequency and consciousness through parenting and birth experiences. Such incredible, transformational experiences that will shape you as a person and are the very fabric of life. Do you want to find out how to high vibe your experience even more? Then QuantiMama is your place. Head there for the High Vibe Birth course, Ultimate Preparation for Birthing. Head there if you want to re-engage your child in the love of learning for the Take the Leap course, which is a deschooling course for parents. There's beautiful mind movies, and obviously this podcast is there, and we are here to support you. So head there for all the juice.